Everyone. Welcome to today's virtual discussion with our transportation experts. My name is Julie Quinn, and assisting me today are Kelly Masacci and Lexi Santiago. Today's webinar is brought to you by Transportation Management Associations, or TMAs, Commuter Service Clients, and Transaction Associates. Transaction Associates is a full-service transportation company that manages TMAs, supports clients with commuting options, benefits, and promotes green commutes. Today, our panel of transportation experts will discuss alternatives to driving alone for re-entering your commuting habits. Our panelists include Waze Carpool, Commute with Enterprise, Bluebikes, MassBike, and Keolis MBTA commuter rail. We also have will showcase the personal ride matching and route planning tools on ecommuter.org. Each panelist will talk about their specific commute mode, including updates, changes, safety procedures, and more. Then we will have a demo on how to find ride matches and plan your best route on eCommuter. We also welcome questions from our attendees. Please enter your questions at the question button at the bottom of your screen. So before we get started, we do have a couple of polling questions so we can understand how our audience is today. So Lexi, if you want to go ahead and launch those, please.
Okay. Let's see. The first question is, are you back in the office full-time, part-time, or hybrid? If not, when do you plan to be back? So you can choose full-time, back full-time, back part-time, not back yet, will be sometime this summer, not back yet, will be sometime this fall, not back yet, we will be in 2022, and not back yet, still to be determined. So we'll leave this up for about 30 seconds or so.
Hey, perfect. So yeah, so everybody should see the survey now if you didn't see it before.
All right, give it about 10 more seconds and then we'll close this one out. Okay. So 27% says back full-time, 9% is back part-time, 9% not back yet, but we'll be back this summer, 27% not back yet, will be sometime this fall, 0% not back yet, but will be into 2022, and 27% not back yet, but still to be determined.
Great. Okay. Thanks, everyone. And we're going to have just one more poll before we get started with Waze Carpool. Lexi?
Okay. And the second one. Is your mode of transportation the same as it was pre-pandemic? Yes, I am commuting the same way as I did in 2019. No, I am currently, I'm commuting differently. So we'll leave this up for about another 10 seconds.
So yep, so just as a follow-up to the last poll, some people are working from home permanently, which wasn't one of the options on the polling question, but there are some now permanent work from home people.
Okay, closing this out. And 67% said, yes, I am commuting the same way as I did in 2019.
Wow. Okay, great. And we got 33 people who are going a different route, commuting. Excellent. Thank you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Paulo Cabral from Waze Carpool. He's going to tell you a little bit about Waze Carpool, and we'll learn a lot of a new option.
Hi all, can you see my screen?
Yes, looks good.
I think this is one of the main questions during the pandemic, right? Can you see my screen? Or are you on mute?
Can you hear me? Right,
Yes.
exactly.
So guys, I'm Paulo, head of partnership for the US at Waze. I'm super happy to join everyone here today, and we'll jump right in to tell you about Waze Carpool. So when the pandemic hit, we know that the world changed. At the time, we had no idea how things would look 1 year later. For more than a year, we felt isolated and disconnected. Commuting also changed. People are buying cars, driving more again, but public options are not coming back as quickly, and many commuters are without a good option. Work for most of us has changed too. Talking through screens and holding events online, like the one that we are now. And things are changing again as the world begins to recover. So here's what Waze user data is telling us. Driving is surging where COVID is under control. Driven miles are above pandemic levels in Sydney, London, and even New York. And Boston and Cambridge are on a similar path. If cities with great transit systems like Sydney, London, and New York have driving surgeons higher than before COVID, we can expect a similar trend in cities all across the US. And as we follow this trajectory, we need every tool in the transportation toolkit to deal with it. So where does Waze come in? In the simplest sense, Waze is helping coworkers to take back their commutes. They are helping each other, they are feeling more connected, and they are getting to work on time. So let's take a look at a short video about Waze Carpool.
You see, every day, millions of drives are already happening with Waze, the largest community of drivers on the planet. Waze analyzes these drives, so pickup and drop-off tolls are minimal, and the entire carpool experience is easy and hassle-free. Just like pitching in for gas, riders get a comfortable and affordable ride, and drivers cover their gas costs just by helping someone on the way. It's Carpool, powered by Waze.
As you saw in the video, it's super easy to carpool. To get a ride, you need to download the Waze Carpool app, and to offer a ride, you just use the normal Waze navigation app. You select the days and times you want and choose from the matches that pop up. And it's done. Payments are also within the apps. Super, super easy. Now, what about partnerships? In 2021, we started a upgraded partnership program to help private and public sector partners create, launch, and grow carpooling groups for their companies or for an entire community. Waze offers free tools and we don't collect any program fees. All the investments go to incentivize and share mobility. Thanks a lot. I'm happy to take any questions during the Q&A. And here's a link for more information about our program and my email to get in contact.
Perfect. Thank you, Paulo. That was excellent. That's one option. I do think it's great. And we'll wait and we'll do all questions at the end, just to make it so we can ask all panelists. So that was fabulous. So next we'll Commute with Enterprise. And because you know me, Effie, I'm just going to say Effie and you can say your last name for me because I always mess it up.
No worries at all. Hi, everyone. My name is Effie Laina. We'll keep it simple and quick. And I am from Commute with Enterprise. Let me share my screen. Let me know if you can see my screen. Let me put
Yep, you're good.
Mode. Great. Well, thank you. I would like to start by thanking Transaction Associates for having me with you today. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you all about how are we looking to return back to work. And I specifically talk more about vanpooling. Just a very high level, quick overview of agenda. I'm going to give you some background on Commute with Enterprise, who we are, what we do. Then I'll dive into deeper as to what vanpooling is and how it works. I will summarize high level some of the benefits that are provided for the employee and the employers. And then I'll give you a very brief description on how we implement the program. Without further ado, the easy enterprise, you all know enterprise, you probably know us as Enterprise Rent a Car. We also operate national and Alamo, but we've also been a transportation resolution for many divisions. So we also operate car sales, truck rental, business rental, as well as fleet management. As for Commute, our name says basically our purpose. We try to assist employers and employees to commute from and to work. Vanpooling has been around for over 40 years, and we currently operate over 12,000 vehicles across the state. But what is vanpooling and how it works? The easiest way to think about vanpooling is that it functions like a large carpool with 5 to 15 participants. People usually meet at a designated location in the morning, typically close to their home. From there, participants switch driving responsibilities, share driving responsibilities, to state it better, and they overall share at the end of the month the cost of fuel as well as the rental for the month. Now, as I mentioned before, we got you covered. We'll not only provide you the vehicle, but we have a 24/7 roadside assistance. Preventive maintenance is included. Comprehensive and physical liability. We actually do provide a $1 million liability. And it's actually very convenient, but it's because it's only a month-to-month flexibility. Now, of course, what are the benefits for the employees, right? This is, I feel like it's very self-explanatory. They're able to arrive to work engaged and on time because they obviously have the commitment to the rest of their group. They definitely have the opportunity to interact with other coworkers and create relationships. But of course, the most important portion is the savings, right? I get the best stories from my existing coordinators and vanpoolers on the amount of money they've been able to save, not only on their fuel, but also on their personal insurance, simply because they're putting less mileage on the vehicle. But I've definitely even had individuals where they were able to decrease their monthly leases, again, for the same reason, because they have less mileage on their personal vehicle. Of course, most of the times when we think about employers, we think that commute has been the responsibility for the employees. Employers were never really concerned about how these people are going to commute from and to work. Of course, things are shifting, right? Employers are trying to become a little bit more aggressive with their benefits. They're trying to attract top talent, but they're also trying to fill in any gaps that they might have. Some of the biggest factors that we've had great success working with other employers are recruiting and retaining these existing employees, expanding the recruiting radius. Some companies, they've definitely had issues with parking facilities and infrastructure. I've definitely had a lot of employers where they currently charge their employees for parking, increasing their employees' benefits. And then I've definitely had employers where they're trying to increase their sustainability goals. Going into the benefits for the employees, for the employers, I would like to emphasize specifically for any HR folks that we have on the call, based on a recent study, it shows that 23% of employees have left a job because of a bad commute. Now, let's take just a step back and imagine, what if we didn't have that percentage? What if commute was not part of the problem? How much money these companies would be able to save based on recruiting, sustaining these employees? We know that it usually takes anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000, as well as 45 days to recruit a new employee. Just sit back and picture how different would it be if we didn't have to deal with these problems. But of course, as I mentioned before, they're able to expand the recruiting radius, target specific areas where public transportation might not be available, as well as minimizing their infrastructure expenses. How do we do what we do? Simple. We will work individually with every one of the employers that they might be expressing interest in the vanpool program. And we always make sure that we will customize the program based on their needs and their ultimate goals. We usually start by creating a mapping analysis and identifying what are the most populated areas, where are the areas that these individuals are coming from. And a lot of the times we'll be able to identify the locations and the people, the groups of employees that they do have the most need for a transportation solution. Now, keep in mind that everything that we do on our end as a mapping analysis and all that is provided off free of charge. And from there, we basically roll out a plan that meets specifically the needs of these employees. Of course, it's not just me. I have a whole crew and team behind me, backing me up, that we will support not just the employer as well as the employees from day one that we deliver the vehicle throughout the lifetime of the vanpool being on the road. And just to make a small statement, most of my vanpools usually average about 3 years on the road, and they're estimated to save about $6,000 per year per person. That's all I had for you today. I know we had a quick time. I tried to touch some very high level. Here's my information. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, concerns, or if there's anything that we might be able to help you with. Thank you again, Transactions, for having me today.
Excellent. Thank you, Effie. Thank you so much. Just so everybody knows, what in your follow-up email, you will receive a copy of this presentation, which will have all of the contact information for all our presenters, so that you will have that. So that was great. Thank you. Next, we're going to go with Bluebikes, and Pat Kelsey, you're on.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Transaction Associates, for having us here. I'm going to tell you all a little bit about Bluebikes, Metro Boston's public bike share system. You've probably seen our stations around town, but essentially how our system works is you unlock bikes, you ride them, and then you return them to stations. So we are a traditional docked system. There do exist dockless bike share systems. Bluebikes is not a dockless system. We know that there's been some dockless systems in the greater Boston area before, but on the Bluebike system, every trip starts and ends at one of our docks. So here's a quick shot of our system map. This was taken a few days ago, so there are actually even more stations on the ground now than what you see here. We actually just launched in Salem, Massachusetts yesterday. We had our ribbon cutting there. So we are up to 11 municipalities in the Bluebike system. We've got Arlington, Boston, Brookline, Cambridge, Chelsea, Newton, Revere, Somerville, Watertown, and Salem. Did I miss anyone? I think that's everyone. But our system is always growing. And what you can see here on the map is a few different station statuses. Green means there's plenty of whatever you're looking for. Now, depending on what you set your screen to, you can search for available bikes or available docks. This is set to look for bikes, I believe, in this view. So you can see the green stations have plenty of bikes. The yellow stations are getting low, and the red stations are out of bikes. And I'll talk about a little bit how you can deal with that situation if you encounter it in just a moment. The grayed out stations are ones that are potentially hibernating for winter or being maintained. So that's what some of those gray dots are. So the way to avoid empty and full stations is to use the Bluebikes app. Smartphones are really what make modern bike share possible, because we have real-time information in our pocket and we can plan trips accordingly. So when you get the Bluebikes app, the first thing you'll do is you'll pick a pass. We have single trip, day passes, monthly, and annual memberships. Once you decide what product you want, you check out, register on the site, right in the app, and then you can plan trips immediately. You can unlock bikes using a 5-digit code that appears right on your phone, Or if you're a full-time member for an annual membership, you can have a little key fob that dangles right on your keychain, and you can just swipe it whenever you approach a station, and you can take out bikes at any station. There are over 3,000 bikes at 350 plus stations throughout the 11 municipalities. So our monthly membership is $25 a month. It's 30 days. It's not tied to a calendar month. So if you sign up today, you're good through July 17th. Our annual membership option has two options. You can do monthly payments for $11 a month, or if you do the full payment upfront of $109, it comes out to just $9 a month. This is, about as much as most people will spend on coffee or less in a month. So we think that this is a complete no-brainer. The usage fees that you incur for Bluebikes trips kick in after 45 minutes. So each of these memberships includes 45 minutes of totally free ride time on every trip. After that first 45 minutes, you will be billed $2.50 for each additional half hour. This is pretty easy to avoid. Our average trip length is closer to about 8 minutes. This is really intended to keep the bikes turning over, keep stations full and refreshed, and prevent, the tourists from keeping bikes out for hours and hours at a time in large groups. So really, this is intended as a commuting product, good for errands, connecting to the T, multimodal trips, first and last mile solution. We, of course, do have a corporate program. Your company can choose to subsidize part or all of the annual membership fee. It is both discounted and subsidized. So instead of that standard $109, you would be paying a portion of just $80. So we discount it to $80, and then your company will kick in either 25, 50, or 100% of the annual fee. Your company can also opt in at the platinum level to cover those usage fees that kick in after 45 minutes for a completely cost-free experience for the riders. And lastly, our Bike Angels program. You may have noticed that some of those stations on the outskirts of the system will get empty and full at rush hour as people commute in. If you're a reverse commuter commuting to a place in Watertown at 9 a.m. and back away from Watertown in the evening, the Bike Angels program is for you. So the Bike Angels program is a way to earn points by helping us balance the system. Stations get full and empty, as I mentioned earlier. If you take a bike from a station that's full and take it to a station that's empty, then you'll earn Bike Angels points, and you can redeem those for free memberships, extensions on your existing membership, passes, and other great incentives. Thanks everyone for your time. If you have any questions, I'm sure we can address them here at the end. And as they mentioned, we'll be sending along all of our contact information in the post presentation.
Wonderful. We did have a comment, just woohoo, Bluebikes. Someone's been loving the new station outside of their apartment on Arsenal Street in Watertown.
Fantastic.
So yes, thank you. Thank you. Pat, that was excellent. Thank you. Another, short and sweet, what you can do. It's a great, and with weather like today, nothing better than to jump on a bike. Which brings us to Galen. We do have one quick polling question right before Galen's going to give his presentation. Lexi, if you can just launch that for us, please.
Sure. What are you looking forward to most about commuting back to the workplace? Seeing clients in person again, less Zoom/virtual meetings, collaborating with colleagues in the office, and something else we'll put into chat. So we'll leave this open for about 10 more seconds. All right, closing it out. And looks like the winner is collaborating with colleagues in the office with 71%. And the second one is less Zoom/virtual meetings at 18%, and seeing clients in person again at 12%.
We did have somebody comment, which we probably should have had an option of all of the above, because I think that might be some people that are just missing everything about it. So thanks, Lexi, and thank you everyone for participating. And here we go, Galen, it's all you.
Excellent. Thanks, Julie and Kelly and everyone who set this up. My name is Galen Mook. I'm the Executive Director of MassBike. We are the statewide advocacy organization, which means we focus on better biking throughout the Commonwealth. The organization has actually been around since 1977. So from the original days of like the first bike to work days in the 70s and the oil crisis and the ebb and flow of the bike movement. And I've been at this role for about 3 years. And we focus on the policy side, the higher level side of legislation, funding mechanisms, building those bike lanes and that network and connections, and supporting organizations and TMAs to help you ride to work. I don't have any slides, so I kind of position myself outdoors today. I'm very much zoomed out, so I figured what better way to kind of showcase the experience of getting outdoors than to actually have this presentation outdoors. And one of the beauties about biking is that it puts you in that outdoor environment. So that's good. That could be bad, depending on what day you're riding, what weather you're riding in. So I'm going to go through a few quick just tips to encourage you to think about riding to work with some statistics. But then again, I'm really here for the Q&A. So feel free to add any questions to the chat, and then I'll be around to answer any major questions. I do also want to, before I forget, applaud Bluebikes for all their work and opening up in Salem. I also heard that there was somebody who rode from Salem to Boston yesterday on a Bluebike on opening day. So for those of you who are thinking about that long commute, that longitudinal commute, if you're going to be a multi-regional, multi-municipal rider, it is possible to think about doing it. Yes, it can be done. It can be done.
Amazing.
Out there by bike. So,
Amazing. That's
you know,
incredible.
It's real, and it was not an e-bike. To the other question in the chat, so we can talk a little bit about that later. So the idea with biking to work, obviously, it gets you out, it gets you riding, it gets your exercise for the day. Depending on how far you go, we also encourage being multimodal. So Bluebikes is a great way to be multimodal because you can take a bike for a short trip to a bus stop or a train station, or maybe from the train station to the office. But you can also think about using your daily bike, putting it on the ferries, on the T. If you have a folding bike, you can put it in the trunk of a car. You can combine it with your enterprise car share or with your, your Waze carpooling. But there's a way to combine biking. I'm not here to say you should ride every day only, but I'm here to say that it's possible to hop on a bike, to have it as a component of your commute. And again, the goal here is to not have you drive alone. That's the one thing we're trying to fight here. And the reason we're trying to fight that is twofold. One, we are coming back from the pandemic and seeing traffic levels hit 2019 rates and not even stop there, but maybe even rise. We have a congestion crisis in the Commonwealth. We are adding people, we are adding jobs, we are adding houses. We're not building any more roads. So if you think traffic is bad now, once all these developments come online, it's only going to get worse. So let's think about strategies to keep out of the car, at least not all the time. I understand you have to drive sometimes, but if you can minimize your trips, that will be a benefit to everybody. The second crisis is the greenhouse gas emissions that come and affect climate change. A poll that came out at the end of 2019 says that 40% of the Commonwealth's greenhouse gas emissions come from the transportation sector. One more time, 40% come from transportation. We can do ourselves a huge service by minimizing the amount of cars that we have out there emitting greenhouse gases, which we know not just detrimental for your own sanity of being stuck in traffic, but detrimental for the entire climate and kind of the existence of humanity on this planet. So not to get too hyperbolic, but just to say that bikes can be a solution for some of the major crises that we're facing out there. How do you hop back on your bike and think about where you're going to go if it's been a while? So some things that MassBike does like to provide are resources for your daily riding. Through Transaction, we've done several webinars, pretty much once every month, about helping you ride. We've done tune-up sessions. We've done how to be a winter rider if you want to go that far, how to get back on the bike for commuting. We have conversations about e-bikes, conversations about family biking. There's a way to fit biking into your daily life, but you're probably going to need resources. So I like to bucket it into essentially 3 different buckets. There's comfort, knowledge, and awareness. Comfort is the goal. You want to be comfortable on your ride. You want to make sure the route is safe and you have a high comfort route. And if it's not comfortable, change it. We can help you find ways to get around that nasty intersection or get around that uncomfortable and possibly unsafe situation. You want to be comfortable on the bike you ride, comfortable in the clothes you wear, all this sort of stuff leads to comfort is the goal. Knowledge is where groups like MassBike and other advocates come in because we can help provide that knowledge. And I learn every day Every day when I take a bike ride, I learn something new about a route or about this or that, and I like to share that knowledge. So the idea here is that lean on us to help provide some information, then you can make choices to make your comfort level higher. And lastly, awareness. Again, it comes down to just being aware of the options and being aware when you're out there. This is a general catch-all phrase to say that biking itself is kind of this full sensory activity. You're not just getting exercise, but you're engaging your mind, your body, your awareness, your subconscious, your conscious. It's kind of a really cool scenario to be going about 12 miles an hour in an incredibly complex urban environment and still actually think that your brain is processing all of this stuff. It actually is a development tool to help develop your body, develop your brain, develop your eyesight. So all this stuff is the benefits, but you got to keep those three: comfort, knowledge, and awareness in mind. And lastly, I'll mention just a couple of tips. There's a million tips. I can go on for 90 minutes, but time is short here. But we want to make sure that your bike is in working order. So one of the first things you have to do if it's been a while is to learn how to do basic do-it-yourself maintenance. That means pumping up your tires properly. That means checking your brakes and knowing how to make minor adjustments on your brakes and know how to clean and lubricate your chain to make sure that your chain is actually functional and can shift. There's a whole hour-long webinar we've done with Transaction about the DIY air brakes chain, but that's just one thing to think about. Second thing to think about is the route. Your route will basically make or break your ride. If you have a really nasty ride, you're not going to want to do it. It could be dangerous even. Sorry, there are helicopters flying overhead. My apologies if you can catch that here. Check your route to make sure that you're following the least stressful, highest comfort, which means maybe checking it with a local bike map, maybe checking it with the municipality's map, maybe checking out with Strava, which is an app that you can use to find out where the high traffic routes are for bicyclists and joggers. It's not going to be the route that you take the bus on. It's not going to be the route that the trucks drive on. Probably not going to be the route that's the most busy. Think about being a innovative router, because you can also hop off your bike and become a pedestrian if you want to get through some of that nasty scenarios. You can also find your way through parks. You can find your way along riversides. You don't need to necessarily just take the roads. And I should also mention, popping in here, Commuter is a great tool. Thanks, Kelly, for that. Transaction has an awesome resource for you at ecommuter.org to tell you the routing tips as well. And lastly, if there are any questions about any of this stuff, lean on your local bike shop and lean on your local advocates. One of the things we like to build at MassBike is the bike buddy system. So without going too much into all of the details, there will be somebody in your office who rides, and they bet you they have more than enough to talk about at lunchtime of tips and tricks and scenarios. So find ways of getting over those barriers, and that is what MassBike is there for. And again, I'm not here to tell you to ride every day, all day, but if you can maybe make one day a month or one day a week into your bike commute, not going to speak for all the other modes out there, but chances are it's probably going to be some of the best part of your day. So with that, I'll pass it back off. I'm happy to answer questions for you. And thanks so much for allowing me to talk about the benefits and some of the barriers that we're overcoming of biking back to work.
Excellent. Galen, as always, it's great information. Thank you so much. Galen mentioned about all the webinars that we've done. I did put in the chat our YouTube channel that you can go back at your leisure. Any of our webinars that we've done in the past year, 18 months are on there. You can go back, and I know that I have learned how to change a flat tire thanks to Galen. So check your brakes, check your tires, check your chain. It's all there. So that is available to you. And again, the link is in the chat. So with that, we will go to Fatima Santiano, who is from Keolis, and she will give us some information and updates. Thank you. Go ahead, Fatima.
Good afternoon, everyone. All right, let me just try to share my screen. I know you've heard this a lot of times already.
That's okay.
There we go. Oh. All right. Good afternoon,
Perfect.
everyone. Transaction, thanks for having us. I'm Fatima Santiano from Keolis, which is a company operating the commuter rail, or the MBTA commuter rail, also commonly known as the purple line, hence all the purple colors that you see in this presentation. I actually recently transitioned to a new role as the manager of transformation and development for the commuter rail. Prior to May, I was the operations performance manager, where I worked really hard to implement a lot of continuous improvement methodologies to improve our service reliability. And I joined in March 2018. But Keolis is quite a global company. Keolis operates in 16 countries. We've partnered up with, think about 300 public transit agencies worldwide. And they actually operate more than a dozen types of mobility. And today, what I want to talk to you about is our new service that we've implemented in the middle of the pandemic. But before I do that, I wanted to also mention a couple things that we've implemented in response to COVID. So we do have a new regular deep cleaning service or cycle, where all of our coaches go through a deep cleaning every 24 hours. So that includes wiping down all the really high touch surface areas. And also we invested in several fogging apparatus and workforce to do deep cleaning of the coaches. Also, there is a federal mandate right now that masks are required on board. I no word yet on when that will go away, but that is a bit of comfort riding on the public transportation. And a lot of folks may remember the commuter rail as a very crowded experience. I will tell you right now that we're still running about the same number of trains as we did prior to the pandemic, but with actually 25% of the ridership. So the trains are fairly empty, and air exchanges frequently, plus the doors are open at every single stop. And also, even beyond that, actually, according to an APTA report that combined studies from all over the globe, there's no direct correlation between the use of public transit and transmission of COVID-19. So I hope that is some source of comfort. So the thing I'm most excited, before I forget, we also, of course, still have contactless ticket verification and continue to enforce our workforce protection. The thing that I think is most exciting is we do have a new schedule type. It is an all-day frequent service rather than that peak focused type of service. So I think Boston has been very much a 9 to 5 type of community. But with COVID, there's been a real reassessment of our working patterns. And I think a lot of people are probably not going to be 9 to 5 anymore, and really neither is our service. So we do have a more frequent regular service. And the thing that we try to say now is get in, get out, get around all day. So a lot of our lines, or actually all of our lines, have a more uniform service pattern throughout the day that it opens up to different working schedules and different purposes. So maybe now that that remote working has seemed to be effective, maybe some of you want to work from home, half of the time, like 50% of the day, and now you have more train service available to you to go home or come into the office right at the middle of the day. You might also still want to work from home completely, but you still want to socialize with some people and maybe catch dinner downtown. And our new schedule actually has more options for you to do that. So some examples of our new schedule is we have, say, a 60-minute all-day service on the Worcester line with additional service on the Framingham. We also have 60-minute hourly service to Needham, Fitchburg, and Providence. There's a 45-minute frequent service on the Fairmount line. And on the Old Colony line, so Middleborough, Greenbush, and Kingston, the trains are about 70 to 80 minutes throughout the day, and sometimes every 60 minutes, especially during the traditionally peak hours. And we at least have an hourly service on the Lowell line with a more frequent service, actually, again, in the peak directions. And we have a 30-minute service to Beverly and Reading. You might have also heard a lot of rumblings in the news, I think 8 months ago, about late night service being cut. That actually never happened. All of our service go all the way through around 11 p.m. And also our weekend service will be returning just in time for 4th of July. So I know that the weekend service for some of the lines due to budget reasons had to be cut back, but actually all lines will start to have weekend service again come 4th of July weekend. And with that, you can still use the $10 weekend fares. That's still an option, right? Ride all weekend, both Saturday and Sunday for a $10 ticket. And in addition to that, our weekend schedules have also improved. So before it used to start a little bit later in the day because it's the weekend, but to also provide a service to say our shift workers that aren't quite Monday to Friday, our weekend service now all arrive in Boston before 7 a.m. and go until 11 p.m. So this should really provide a lot more options for people. Again, we're not 9 to 5 anymore, neither are we. So we hope that folks take advantage of this new type of service. And why ride the commuter rail? It is the more sustainable option rather than driving in a car. Just like Galen said earlier, traffic is unbearable and is escalating, and I don't think any of us see quite an end to that. With a train, you hop on. Sometimes there are delays, but I will remind everyone there are car accidents also that happen on the road, and those also cause major delays. Personally, and by study, it improves your mental health to actually take public transportation. I know in the car, it's just, I went crazy if I had to sit in traffic, and I just felt like I was non-productive at all. Whereas if I'm coming into work on the train, I'm actually working on my laptop or reading a book or finally doing some Amazon gift shopping that I've been needing to do for a long time, get it done then. Our service is also actually more reliable now. About 95% of our trains so far this month have been within 10 minutes of their schedule. And actually 92% of them have been within 5 minutes of their schedule. So I hope you take our more flexible all day service. We really thought of the greater Boston area when we wanted to provide a more all day regional type of schedule. And I'd be happy to take any questions at the end of this. We also have a employee outreach program where we share with companies the new type of schedule and how it can integrate with their new employee schedules. And also it's our chance to get a pulse on what you may be thinking about in terms of return from work. Anyone is welcome to join that. Feel free to reach out to me afterwards if you are interested.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Fatima. That is great. I'm very much looking forward to the weekends coming back. My kids love to take the train from Wilmington into Boston, and they've missed that for the weekend. So I think that'll be great to have that coming back soon. Thank you. So with that, Kelly is going to do a quick demonstration on eCommuter, and then I see we've got a bunch of questions for our panelists, so we'll go and read those, and our panelists will answer those after Kelly's demonstration. So all you, Kel, thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I know we talked about a lot of different modes. There's a lot of resources out there. There's a lot of options available to you. So here at Transaction, whether that's through the TMA that we operate or manage or the private services at your employer site, we bring it all together for you. So I don't want you to feel overwhelmed by all the options you have to not drive alone. We're here to sort of make the best plan for you with you. So we have personalized commuting options. So the best way either to get started is to reach out to your transportation coordinator at either the TMA or your private site, or to go to ecommuter.org. So ecommuter.org is our online platform for all things that we've talked about: carpooling, vanpooling, public transit, biking, the whole 9 yards. So it's a private member-based system. So everyone on the call is a client of Transaction in some way. So you are eligible to register for this program. You can explore all sorts of different tools that we have on eCommuter. You can explore all different commute modes. What are the benefits of biking? What are the benefits of carpooling? Get a kind of touch and feel on all of those different things. The database itself, register and log in buttons here at the top. We also have a huge help resource library where we have guided videos on how to use the database. But getting started is just as simple as pretty much creating an account, just like every other thing. First name, last name, email address, a phone number, and then putting in your member name or address. So if you're a member of the Alewife TMA, for example, you would type whoever you belong to as part of the Alewife TMA. You work for Dell Technologies or Amazon, you would type those things in as well. So that's either the name or the address of your work location. Once you're into the database, we make it super simple. We'll bring it all together for you. So you land on this, what would you like to do page? So if you would like to carpool or vanpool, click the carpool or vanpool button. After you do that, it'll actually take your home address and your work address, and it will match you with other people in the database that have a similar schedule, but also a similar route. It doesn't give any personal information other than what you want to display. So for example, I have a carpool partner, Sophia Gallimore. She's decided to list her phone number as available. I could pick up the phone, I could text her, say, hey, I found you on eCommuter. You know, I'd love to carpool with you. These are the days I was looking at. I can see her flexibility, where she's coming from and where she's going to, but I don't know her work location and I don't know her home address. So it's very private, nothing ever gets revealed. I can also send her a private message through the database, and I can type in whatever I want, my personal information, to Sophia to sort of get the process started. So again, we try to make it super, super simple for you guys. We also have ways to plan your transit routes. So, you know, from where I live, how would I take transit to work? Where it basically gives you turn-by-turn directions for taking transit. We also have bike partners. So think of that transit turn-by-turn, you know, instructions alongside with the carpool partner matching. So we can actually find you bike partners and bike routes, because I wouldn't want to bike down 95 or 93. So it'll actually prioritize your bike friendliest routes. Something else to keep in mind, there's a park and ride search. So I live in Haverhill and commuting into Woburn. So that's quite a biking distance. Sorry, Galen. But you know, one option that is very popular is you sort of drive part of the way to a park and ride lot, and then you might bike the rest of the way in. So for those like really heavily congested parts of your commute. One other quick program that I just want to bring into your attention, I know we definitely want to get to all the Q&As, is our emergency ride home program. So once you're in the database, click in this ERH tab here at the top, gets you into the program. So if on the days that I take any mode that isn't driving alone, so I don't have my personal vehicle, I carpooled with someone, I biked to work, I took the T, I took the train, whatever it might be, a blue bike, a vanpool. If I have an emergency that day, I can get home via this emergency ride home program. You call our dispatch, we give you a Lyft code, we can dispatch a taxi to you, or we can even dispatch an enterprise rent-a-car to you, and you would have a way to get home, sort of as an insurance policy for not having your own personal vehicle at work. So it sort of gets you over the hump of, oh my God, I couldn't possibly consider, you know, carpooling, because what if I have to pick up someone from daycare or, you know, whatever it might be. So we have that program in place for you. And that's pretty much in a nutshell what eCommuter is. I'll turn that back over to Julie to start some of this Q&A. And thank you.
Excellent, Kelly. Thank you. Thank you as always. Great program. If you guys have any questions, reach out to your commuter services manager, and they can walk you through it, help you through it, or you can watch the recording of what Kelly just did. So we do have a few questions for our panelists today. The first one, this one is for Paulo. How do you guarantee passenger safety? Do you look at backgrounds of participating people who are participating?
We don't do background check, but our app, you have information about the ways that they work. We can connect to social media like Facebook. And most importantly, before you offer a ride or before you accept a ride, you can see the profile of the person, you can talk with the person that you will carpool with, and you are in control. You decide if you want to take a carpool ride with them or not. So it's up to you.
Great, thank you. Excellent, thank you. I think this one is for Galen. There is a footbridge that is partially complete connecting the North Point Park across the water to the park by the sheriff's office. Is there an idea if there is a plan to complete that path? And if so, when that might be?
Awesome. Great question. I wish I had control over that. So that is it's a combination of the DCR and the DOT needing to work to get it over and to connect both Boston and Cambridge. I'm fairly familiar with that project, knowing that it is stalled. They've built both of the footings for that bridge, but there is a question, and this relies on perhaps the expansion of South Station and what's going to happen to the trains. If the trains need to be expanded on the north side of the tracks, that right of way might be given up to expanding the trains, and they might need to fix the bridge. That's that drawbridge right there that goes across the Charles. But that said, this is in the 5-year plan for the state. So there might be potential for it to go forward within the next 5 years. But even if we had all of the advocacy and funding behind it, a lot of it still comes down to the operations of the trains. So that is right now a big question mark. And the only other way to get around across the river, I know, is to either do the Museum of Science Bridge, which itself is a little hairy, even though there's a bike lane with little flex posts. Or my preferred method is you go over to the Charles River Locks and you walk your bike across the Charles River Locks, and you end up a little bit behind North Station that way, which is also really cool because you get to see some of the infrastructure that keeps our river from flooding into the harbor. But yeah, I really appreciate that you are focusing on such a crucial project. It will be a big project. It's probably going to be, I mean, without quoting it, it's probably like an $8 million bridge that's probably going to be needed. So it's not chump change, but I do know that it is currently being part of what's discussed in the next 5-year plan. But beyond that, all I can do is just track what the DOT or I should say Department of Transportation or Department of Conservation and Recreation decide, which again is well above my advocacy pay grade.
Excellent, excellent. Hopefully that helped, and that was great. Excuse me. Effie, this one's for you. Commute with Enterprise. How do I get started to find a vanpool group? And how is the driver determined?
That's a great question. Thank you for that. So the easiest way to find if there's currently an available route, back it up. If you are interested in joining a commute or starting a commute, you would definitely start by giving me a call. My first step would be, one, to identify to see if we have an existing route that matches your location and your shift hours. If that's a great case scenario, perfect. I usually reach out to the coordinator of the group. If there is an available seat, I will automatically make the connection and pass along the driver, but we will guide them and help them and assist them throughout the ride. Now, when it comes to new vanpools, it's interesting because I just literally got a new lead from IRE to Hanscom Air Force. So I'm assuming they're a military group. They come in as leads through my website. So when you go into our website, you have the option to add a lead as a participant, that I don't have any other people to commute with me. And we also have the option as me and 4 friends. That means usually that you have more than one individual. In regards to driving, it does become complicated a couple times depending the crowd you're dealing with to find approved drivers. Most of the times from my experience, you get that one individual that's like, I want to be the driver. I don't trust anyone else driving the vehicle back and forward. And then I've definitely come to situations where we had to provide some type of incentives and emphasize on the benefits of becoming an approved driver. Just a very small note, we do check an MVR of 5 years. We want to make sure that whomever drives the vehicle, but also whoever rides the vehicle, they're safe. Therefore, we do check an MVR of 5 years. Unfortunately, no DUIs or major accidents at fault will allow someone to become an approved driver. But I've definitely seen individuals with a couple accidents at fault becoming an approved driver. We guide them through the whole process from, it's like the little child, you grab it from the hand and you walk it down the path until they're ready to walk by themselves. So I'll be more than happy to assist anyone, either to match them with one of our existing vanpools or even help them to start their own group.
And I'll just chime in there too. eCommuter.org has the ability to find vanpool groups, just as like they can find carpool groups, bike partners, and your best transit options. So Your transportation coordinator is a good place to go. E-commuter is a good place to go. Commute with Enterprise is a good place to go. So if you want a van pool, we will get you a van pool.
We will get you a van pool one way or another. Trust me.
Perfect. Thank you, Effie. Thank you for that. Excellent. I know we're running short on time. Patrick, I've got a question. Actually, it's kind of there are two parts to it. One, how do you maintain the bikes, first of all? And second, are there e-bikes in the thought process or in the future?
So yeah, we maintain the bikes at a warehouse in Charlestown. They're brought in a minimum of 1 time per month, or if ever anyone flags a problem with them. So if you get a bike that has some sort of problem, the shifter, the brakes, flat tire, anything of that nature, when you get to your dock, and we recommend if there is a problem that you walk it to the nearest dock, hit that little button on the dock that's a picture of a wrench, and it will lock the bike in place. No one else will be able to take it, and it'll flag our technician team to come and take a look at it. We have field technicians that are actually riding around on non-Bluebikes bikes. They've got tools, they've got equipment that can allow them to do like quick repairs. But if they're not able to complete the repair in the field, then we'll bring it into our warehouse for a more robust look over from one of our mechanics. Our mechanics are working 24 hours a day. The warehouse never closes. And we've got, I don't know, I want to say 12 of them at the peak working on bikes at any given time. So we have a robust schedule for repairs of the bikes, whether or not they're reported defective or not. But if they are, we take them right out. As for e-bikes, and Galen might have more information on this than I do, e-bikes are currently not legal enough or not well defined legally enough for Bluebikes to launch them. We have plans to bring e-bikes into the Bluebike system as soon as we are, legally able to.
I could jump in there real quick. So the trouble is that there's a lot of municipalities involved with the system, which is good and bad. All the municipalities have different takes on what e-bikes are. Technically, in the state, we do not have a definition of what an electric bicycle is. We have a motorized bicycle definition, which is made for mopeds, but we do not have one similarly for bicycles, e-bikes. So what we're trying to do at MassBike is actually we're pushing legislation, wrote it and co-sponsored it, which would define electric bicycles as a vehicle in statute in the state. So then all the municipalities, all 351 throughout the state, know exactly what they're talking about. The challenge is right now with Bluebikes is that if Salem has a different definition than Cambridge, that messes things up. So what we're trying to do at MassBike is to clarify what e-bikes are, which we all agree we want them. It's just we have to go through the bureaucracy of passing legislation in order for this to be a wholesale fix, which is kind of what happened with scooters. I don't know if anybody remembers the scooters. Like if you had a scooter in Brookline, you technically couldn't ride it in Boston because Boston had a different definition of scooter than Brookline did. We can't have that for transportation because transportation is a regional conversation. So therefore we need regional solutions, which is where MassBike comes in.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you both, Galen and Patrick. That was great. I'm going to throw one last question out to Fatima as far as a pass. Somebody who's asking, I'm only going into the office a few days per week. What commuter fare options do you have for a flexible schedule?
So right now, I know that the MBTA has piloted a 5-day flex pass, but I believe right now that is scheduled to go away come September. So Keolis doesn't dictate the fare policy at all. We may provide some input from the around the world of what has worked, but it is actually the MBTA who determines the fare policy.
Okay, so we could check it as far, and I know there is a flexible schedule, flexible fare, sorry, that you can get a pass for. So with that, we are hitting 1 o'clock. So any other questions that came in, what I'll do is I will ask the panelists to just answer, and then we can send out an email to those people who do have a couple of questions that may have been unanswered. I'm not sure that there are, but there might have been a couple of others. And with that, I do have, we are drawing one of our attendees for a $25 Charlie card. So let me see. How about Paula Walsh? Congratulations, Paula. We will get in touch with you and be able to send you your $25 Charlie card. So with that, again, my name is Julie Quinn. You will receive a follow-up email. If you do have any questions, you can respond to that. And you can ask the questions, and your commuter services manager will get in touch with you. And again, you can check out our YouTube, which the link will be in the follow-up email with all of these, and this will be recorded as well. This has been recorded, and you will get a recording from that. So thank you to all of our panelists. This was fabulous information. Great way to get started, to get back into the commute, out biking, vanpooling, carpooling, taking public transportation. It's all out there. Let's try to get the cars off the road if we can. Even like Galen said, 1 or 2 days, a month, a week, any little bit helps. So with that, I thank you again. Have a great afternoon. Enjoy this weather. And if you have questions, get in touch with us and we'll be sure to answer it. Thanks, everyone.
Everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.